Okay, let's dive into this idea of civic sense. We hear that phrase all the time, right? But what if I told you that the common explanation that some people just have it and others don't is completely missing the point? To really get this, I want you to picture two totally different places. On one hand, you've got a city like Copenhagen. We're talking clean public toilets you can find every 5 minutes, roads with no potholes, and quiet, beautiful parks. People there even line up on escalators. Then, on the other hand, you have a typical Indian city. And you know the deal. It's a daily grind of garbage, traffic chaos, and toilets you wouldn't want to go near.
So seeing that massive difference, you have to ask, are people in Denmark just, I don't know, genetically programmed to be more orderly? Were they just born with better civic sense? It's an easy answer, but it just can't be true. People are pretty much the same everywhere. So if it's not in our DNA, what is really going on?
So, here's how we're going to unpack this. First, we're going to move past just blaming people. Then, we'll dig into the 3 real hidden reasons this problem exists. After that, we'll see how other countries have actually solved this. And finally, we'll land on what this is really all about, the empathy equation.
All right, let's start by tackling the most common explanation you hear, which, frankly, is also the most unhelpful one.
We've all heard this. Heck, in a moment of frustration, we've probably all said it. But saying people just don't have civic sense is a total dead end. It just points a finger at individuals and lets us ignore the much bigger, much deeper problems that are actually causing the behavior in the first place. Because here's the truth. A lack of civic sense isn't the cause of the problem. It's a symptom. The real issue is rooted in 3 big, interconnected reasons that are humming away just under the surface, things we almost never talk about. And these 3 things aren't separate. They're all tangled up. You've got this historical conditioning from caste and class, you've got a system that's just plain broken, and you've got this huge empathy gap. They all feed into each other and create this vicious cycle that we see on our streets every single day.
All right, reason number 1. For centuries in India, the physical act of cleaning has been the designated job of specific lower castes. And this has created a deep, often unconscious, social mindset where keeping things clean is seen as someone else's responsibility, not ours. Just think about the words we use. We call the person who picks up our trash the garbage man or kudawala. But wait a minute, who made the garbage? We did. That one little word shows a huge psychological disconnect we have from our own waste and, honestly, from the people who have to deal with it.
Okay, let's move on to the second reason, because this is where you really start to see how people's actions are often just a logical reaction to a completely dysfunctional system.
I mean, we get angry when people relieve themselves out in the open, but let's be real, what's the alternative? The public toilet is probably locked, or it's filthy, or there's no water. When the system doesn't provide the most basic things, it literally forces people into behaviors that we then turn around and criticize as a lack of civic sense. And it's not just toilets. Look at our roads. When a brand new flyover suddenly goes from 4 lanes down to 2 with no warning, that's not just asking for chaos, it's designing it. The system itself is creating the very traffic madness we complain about. And this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, a massive empathy deficit. It's a failure to feel like we're all in this together, especially across the huge divides of class and wealth. You see this kind of feudal mindset, where people are only responsible for their own private space, their own little castle. They'll build these incredible luxury apartments right next to a slum and feel no responsibility for the world just outside their gate. This just isolates everybody. It makes it impossible to build a city that works for everyone. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the fix? Well, let's look at how other countries have dealt with these exact same issues. And what you find is that the secret isn't about somehow magically changing people. It's about building smart systems that make being a good citizen the easy and obvious choice. Just look at this comparison. In India, we have a hard time just getting people to sort trash into 2 bins, wet and dry. In Denmark, the system is designed for every single person to sort their household waste into 10 different categories: glass, metal, plastic, paper, you name it. The system sets the standard, and people meet it. And get this. This is brilliant. Instead of threatening fines for littering, Denmark rewards people for recycling. They have these reverse vending machines. You pay a tiny deposit when you buy a soda, and when you return the empty can, you get your cash back on the spot. It's simple, it's motivating, and it makes recycling a complete no-brainer. And this is happening all over the world. In Japan, kids clean their own classrooms and toilets. In Switzerland, you have to pay for official garbage bags, but recycling is totally free. In Singapore,
They actually rate public toilets and celebrate the best ones. The lesson is crystal clear. Civic sense isn't something you're born with. It's built, it's taught, it's encouraged, and it's designed right into the system.
So all of these examples, all these successful systems, they have one really important thing in common. They are not built on force. They're built on nurturing a totally different way of thinking. In Denmark, they actually have a word for it, samfundssind. It basically means social mindedness. It's this feeling that you're part of a community, that you have a shared responsibility to put the good of society above your own personal convenience. And that feeling is the bedrock of their civic life. So how do we get there? It's really a three-step plan. First, the government has to step up and build the actual system, the dustbins, the clean toilets, the well-designed roads. Second, our schools need to teach empathy, teach kids respect for sanitation workers and why we all have a role to play. And third, you gently but consistently enforce the rules so everyone helps maintain the system.
Because at the end of the day, that's what civic sense truly is. It's just empathy in action. It's not about memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about that simple human feeling of concern for the person who has to come and clean up the mess you might leave behind.
And if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, right, this is impossible, I want you to look at Rwanda. After suffering through one of the worst tragedies in modern history, the country rebuilt itself and is now widely considered the cleanest nation in Africa. They proved that this kind of massive change is absolutely possible. Which leaves us with one final tough question. It's really easy to sit back and blame our fellow citizens. It's much, much harder to demand a better system from our leaders and to start building a more empathetic society ourselves. If a nation like Rwanda can pull off such an incredible transformation, what's holding us back?